All right, now, let's do this Caranavi. Now, I want to talk about something else at this point, rather than strictly the aroma. While we can taste this coffee, especially right now, you should be noticing in the very back of your palate a very strong coffee sensation, but it's not bitter. It's just this long, lingering flavor. And as I'm talking, I can just kind of feel it in the very back of my throat. And this is something we call liquoring. And it's a characteristic that some coffees have. Colombia's used to be really well known for their liquoring. So there's a liqueur-like quality to that. And that's actually what we're looking for in this coffee. So go ahead and cup it again. And just notice there's a softness to it at first. You pick up that softness, and then it just has this long, and it almost gets stronger. Like it settles out and then it starts going back up again. It's long, lingering, liqueur-like quality to it. Anybody want to hazard a guess on aromas? I'm going to think of. I remember back when I was growing up. The neighbor across the street had a little woodworking shop behind his house there, and would make all these kind of cool things. And there's a smell of fresh cut wood that I pick up in this, right? Just as you're going through some hardwood, that are cutting, and that's what this coffee reminds me of.
I almost wish we had the descriptor words and be able to match them up.
Oh, wouldn't that be kind of fun? Yeah,
trigger.
That might be. But
finding the language.
Yeah, exactly. It really is. And I think there's two things. It's not only finding the language, it's also building trust. Because at this point, I'm going ahead and putting forward my opinions on it. But we have to kind of establish a level of trust so that y'all are like, oh, yeah, I can get that, right? Or if I went and said, this one kind of tastes like raspberries with a hint of, I don't know. I hear these really elaborate coffee descriptions sometimes, like, yeah, buddy, you got it there. And maybe they taste it. Maybe they do. Maybe they're a super taster that picks up all these kind of things. But I'm gonna posit that nobody who buys a pound of coffee ever experiences that at home. Never, right? By the time you get it home, you grind it, you put it through your coffee brewer, you ain't gonna hear or taste, hints of leather and those kind of things. I think it's better to kind of go after these qualities that are recognizable and experiential, right? Because when you're doing a coffee cupping, it's much better to a successful coffee cupping is when the people come away from the table knowing what they're tasting, not that they think you're a great cupper. That's what it gets down to, right? It's your ability to transmit that connection. Okay, have we not tasted any of these coffees yet? Well, we didn't talk about the San Francisco from an aroma standpoint. Let's go ahead and try this one again. Okay, my first inclination is that kind of we're in that woody territory again, but it wasn't quite that kind of wood like we had that with that Caranavi. So then I kind of start thinking about things like, well, certain things that are similar to that kind of characteristic, and I start thinking about nuts. And if you were to think about, let's say, for example, particularly white nuts, not a peanut, but much more of a say like a macadamia nut, cashew nut kind of a thing. Questions from you guys? Anything? Yeah? Maybe? I think the other thing that really is the tough one on this one, you know what this one really tastes like to me? Coffee. And coffee is a viable flavor. Coffee often tastes like coffee. I mean, this is kind of a classic coffee flavor. And in fact, it's almost like that classic all-around coffee. It's very medium in its characteristic, a soft, neutral taste to it, and this very subtle. Like I said, I kind of think of white nuts when I'm tasting it, but it's so subtle. It's much more of a coffee-driven, coffee aroma characteristic. Would you agree with that?
I would agree.
Okay. Now let's do something here real quick. Let's go around the table. Now we're getting down to the end of this guy here, so we're going to. The downside of sinking your grounds is that you're going to get grounds on the bottom of your spoon. So we're down to the near end. Let's start with the Yirgacheffe. Try to get some without grounds, sans grounds. You might want to go for the other one. It looks like it's a little higher. Right afterwards, let's do that Karnataka. Now the AA plus. And about this point is when I want to start paying attention to your sense of presence with the coffee. Because we want to talk about body at this point. And we start off with that Ethiopia. It was very, very light-bodied. As we got to that Karnataka, it seemed like it kind of stepped up in intensity. When you get to this Atitlan, it's a little bigger again. Can you pick that up? Just like it seems like there's a little more there. Okay. Yeah. Let's go on to the San Francisco. And once again, you're going to notice, a little more again. You notice, can you see that? Can you feel that stepping up kind of going on? Let's try that Gaia Mountain. And this one almost jumped. I think there was almost more of a jump. The first few were pretty close together, and this one kind of made a big step up in body.
Do you find that it's more effective to take people through in slow steps than to take them from Ethiopia right to like something really full-bodied?
Well, depending on, let's go ahead and finish this part off here. I think it's a really good question. Then we did with the Berahona, then the Keranavi. Because I want to try to keep these guys focused on just that sense. And you know what? I think we stepped down one, didn't we? I think that Berahona is actually stronger than this Keranavi. Would you go? Let's go back to that Berahona again.